Just checked in. Gonna get 3 hours sleep tonight. Here we go.
Well, Kelly, things are actually quiet here on the Texas border compared to San Diego, where you have Chinese nationals crossing illegally into California in record numbers. News Nation sources telling us that smugglers have actually shifted their operations west as Texas continues to beef up their border security in areas like El Paso and here in Eagle Pass. Now take a look at this new viral video from San Diego resident Cody Gutterow showing hundreds of migrants crossing illegally into the San Diego sector after men in black masks cut through the border wall and led the migrants right through.
0400 start, 1 live hit per hour. We ended up knocking out 11 hits. There was a 12th that was killed minutes before, but we're in this position from before sunrise till long after sunset. Every type of Texas weather. We started out in 68-degree weather. It peaked in 92. We had overcast. We had downpours, blue sky, direct sun. Wind level so high, the easy up frame bent and caused audio issues. We cycled through a few different mics, which you'll see coming up. It's another rainy morning. Forecast says it's sunny today. Breakfast got left on the ground here, and now the fire ants have taken over. I don't want to leave the trash on the ground, so I got a couple hours to figure out what I'm going to do with this thing. Here's a lighting setup with the two Astra 6Xs at approximately 50 to 60% daylight mode. They're maybe 5 feet from the subjects, and you can see we've got a full overcast layer. Next hour, thinned out a bit and brighter and switched over to 1-300D on the right-hand side. I believe I started at about 30% with the Fresnel lens. Ticked in just a small spot in from full wide. Also made a small change to the white balance, color temp, and tint. Wind levels increased beyond what I could shield with the Furry on the lavalier mic, so switched over to the boom pole. No wind noise. But just before our hit, there was a big gust, and I didn't realize it shifted the easy up to the right slightly. So if you note the top left of frame, how close the easy up is to the boom pole, and you can hear some tapping in this hit.
Additional barrier here on the Texas border, but in San Diego and California, they have seen a major uptick in illegal crossings inland and by sea. News Nation sources in Mexico.
The wind shifted the easy up, and I didn't realize it was tapping the boom pole during that hit. Now we're running 2 aperture 300s as the sun started to emerge, and we did this step aside and rack focus reveal. Notice the camera bobble there. I didn't realize that during my hit. One of my tripods and plates combos due to wear, and it's probably not a Sackler original plate. There's a little bit of slop in the connection coming through as that little bobble, and I didn't catch it while I was shooting. I noticed it after I watched this air check, so I had another tripod on the truck and switched over to solve that problem, but I need to address that on that one head, figure out how to tighten things up. And you can see we switched to the stick mic. That was, I got overruled due to my mistake there, but the audio mixer for the show wasn't too happy with my last hit, and my bad. I should have caught that. Had the day off today. It's now late. I think it's like 2100. 16 and a half hour day yesterday. All I did today was gym. I actually spent almost 3 hours there. And then didn't take a nap. I don't know what I did this afternoon. I don't really have anything to, just kind of wasted time on online emails and YouTube. But these parts came in while I was in Eagle Pass. So the Arri lightweight support plate and the sliding shoulder pad, I forget the model numbers, literally 10 times the cost of the Zacuto. The Zacuto is about $180 or $190, and this was $1,700 or $1,800. There's one more part that's back ordered that is like a shim plate. You take the shoulder pad off, you put that shim plate on, and then you can direct mate a BP8 or BP9. I have both, which are 15 mil studio and 19 mil studio. I've got a job now, it's about 2 weeks out, 4-day broadcast project where I'll be on my 30 to 300, which is, the lens is physically larger and hangs below the lightweight rod, so you have to run studio rods. So if that shim plate doesn't come in from Arri in time for my job, I'm gonna have to shoot FX9 because I have a studio base for my FX9, but I would like to shoot Burano. A few other things came in. I bought another inexpensive OC monitor, same one I have on my FX9, using this specifically as a framing and menu monitor for broadcast ENG dock type of work. I think I'm actually going to end up mounting that on the back end here because I like this for when I'm in tripod mode. If I'm doing the underslung, like under my shooting at the hip, I'm fine to just use the pivot screen, and these things kind of conflict with each other. In the current configuration, I bought this little small rig because I have one of those on my FX9, and it's been okay. But I didn't realize the front side is 3/8, so I ordered a 3/8 and 1/4-20, one on each end. The rear side is 1/4-20. Like, I don't understand why they weren't consistent front and back. Like, I prefer 3/8 all around because you can adapt it down. Oh, maybe I can mate the. Try putting the monitor back here. That'll interfere with the handle, or maybe on this side. We'll get to that in a sec. Next little issue, I was aware of this already, but I bought this in, is it Move Cam? Or, no, I think it's Shape, adapter plate, V-mount to gold mount. And it only has one P-tap port. And already I got my 17-120 on there. That needs to be powered externally. I'm not sure why it's not powering through the lens port. Hopefully that's a firmware update. Although I think my lens has actually an issue. It needs to go in. I think maybe I blew a fuse on the lens mount. But anyway, so the issue here is these HDMI port and the P-tap port on my adapter plate conflict. I bought a new hyper thin cable specifically for this setup, but the connector is too long. It goes out to about my thumbnail here, and there's not enough clearance. So this one will fit, but this hyper thin is actually broken or intermittent. So gotta do this in a specific order. Anyway, it does fit. It's about like that. It's tight. So I have one of these on in my Amazon shopping cart. I just got to press purchase, and then I think I'm gonna buy for now an inexpensive D-tap splitter, 4 outs. I was looking on Amazon. There are a few that have a 1/4-20 set screw, so I could just mount that plate like right here where my finger is. Yeah, it's probably gonna be about that wide. 2 ports on each side of the screw. There's a nice one that was like $80. I think it's all aluminum. And it's got a tab above, so be where my middle finger is riding down here. And then there was like a $25 one where it would line up like this. I think the inexpensive one's actually going to be a better position for all the cable management. And then I had a Canon dummy battery for one of my time-lapse setups, so I just borrowed that for now on this OC. But yeah, I'm going to try moving this back to here. Well, I don't really like this either. I wish this 3/8 was back here at the rear end of the camera more, because this encroaches on the, can't get 4 fingers on the handle now unless I split it like this. I know this is unconventional, but I actually prefer having the onboard monitor at the back side of the camera because I'm mostly on a tripod, or if I'm on my shoulder, I like having it back there so my field producer can see my shots for ENG. Still deciding which top plate and side plate to go with. I think I'm gonna go with the Move Cam. They're not shipping yet, but it looks like they have a module where it's just a little cheese plate back here, the width of my 2 fingers, because I just want a couple of points to mount off of. I may not even need that now that I'm looking at this, because I've got a few tie downs, but really, I don't want the big plate that covers the entire top of the camera because it's just more weight, and I don't need that many rigging points, but I do want a side plate over here for my audio receiver and possibly also stacking out a wireless video transmitter. The ultralight style arm, when it's on the front, I got it on the back right now, but when it's on the front, I basically want to articulate the monitor over the shotgun mic, so this would rotate where it can't go. Like, I want it to be that way. And just ultralights, they don't do the 2-axis thing like that. So I switched to a traditional Noga style arm, gets me a bunch more articulation. And I think this is actually going to be better too when I want to store the camera for transport. I can tuck this down below the handle, or maybe under, no, not under the mic, but kind of like over here to fit in my porta brace bag. The handle, it's already a little tight with the Arri shoulder pad on there. It's a little too tall, so I just got to make the monitor flush with the top handle, and I think it'll fit in the case. Late start today. It's 9 a.m. I got a 10:30 call. Just loading up the van. Gonna get breakfast on the way to sets. Yeah, this is mostly charged. Project today is a medical products training video, medical procedure, like an at-home thing. I've worked for this company before, and I don't recall the particulars. Oh, I also picked up 2 more Condor Blue D-Tap or P-Tap to USB-C for charging cell phones, powering FX3s, and obviously any other USB-C accessories. I don't think these have enough amps to charge a MacBook. 65 watts. That might be enough for a MacBook Pro. I'll have to look that up. So the first one I bought specifically for my FX3 to power it off a battery plate close to camera. So it's got the little tail on the end of the cable. I bought these style so that my lightning connector iPhone can patch in, as well as newer iPhones and Androids. This project doesn't call for a specific camera. Probably do FX3 and be just fine. But I want to shoot Burano, and I've got my PL zoom on there. And we've got some macro shots, and that zoom lens has macro capability. So it should be a good fit. And then I think I'm going to add the wireless Paralinks, and I'll just have a little 7-inch monitor set up for client. Power to connect the power cord. Did it already scratch the monitor? Or is it dirty? That's dirt. Excellent communication and feedback on my last vlog. I appreciate all the comments and suggestions for the best shoulder pad solution for the camera. I don't know if I'm going to stick with this Arri setup now that I've got a day with it. Also had 2 long phone calls, like over 30 minutes, with 2 other shooters with suggestions and pictures, which I'll share coming up. The vlog, the posts that get the highest traffic are ones talking specifically about gear, model numbers, new equipment. And that's the stuff I've been the least interested in doing because the internet is saturated with gear review channels, and I don't really want to review gear. I just want to find the best tools for the type of work I'm doing. So then it's the same struggle as being a freelancer. Like, do I make vlog content that I'm interested in, which would be like me forcing anamorphic lenses, shooting everything on an Alexa, making everything into a movie production for my clients? Or do I be responsive and reactive to what my audience, just like my clients, are requesting and adapt to their needs? Do I make it a business, or do I keep the vlog as a hobby? So as you can see here, shooting underslung, I've already removed the shoulder pad to make the camera a little bit shorter and easier to undersling. I've been running the touchscreen, using my thumb to touch autofocus on things. We're shooting at between a 1.8 and a 2.0. They wanted this sort of floaty, shallow depth of field. I'm matching a video that was shot several years ago, just kind of some updates, and they're doing a condensed version. I didn't shoot the original, but they like the look and vibe, so I'm just going with it, which meant jettisoning the zoom lens and going to primes. Okay, so the Arri shoulder pad solution for the Burano is the same as the Venice 1 and 2. The intermediate plate is a little bit different. It's flat versus the bump. Now, coming from the Amira for 10 years, the 50 mil lightweight rods are down on the sliding shoulder pad. And the compromise there is, yeah, it's a nuisance when you slide the shoulder pad to rebalance for a lens change. It means all the accessories riding on the rods have to reposition as well, because the bracket is moving fore and aft. So I think they went with this intermediate plate to make the rods static. So now you can change the shoulder pad without manipulating accessories. But the compromise in the design is now the vertical height of the accessories is pretty significant compared to the other 2 plates I tested, to the point where I think it's a little too tall for me. You can see here, we went on my shoulder really fast and I didn't have a chance to grab the shoulder pad off the tripod, and it was a quick over the shoulder. Oh, and the second advantage to that intermediate plate is it can mate to a BP8 or BP9 for studio mode, which, as I've discussed a few times, is something I need to accommodate one zoom lens in my inventory. But I only use that lens a couple times a year, so it seems silly now for me to carry this chunk of aluminum on the bottom of the camera all the time for these few and far projects that come in. So I've got the rear side plate on my FX9 with the Electrosonics receiver, but the problem with that location is it blocks access to the BNCs and the XLR ports. So I'm thinking for this camera, I may just do a side plate on the front end. And on this particular shoot, I would put the Paralinx transmitter on that side plate. See, originally we rigged it vertically, but it was getting in the way of my wrist, so I just canted it to the side to get through the day. The dual batteries were my on-the-field fix for not having enough P-tap ports. I did have a D-tap splitter in the van, but it was just easier to put two batteries on there, and the extra weight wasn't too bad. However, kind of the beauty with this Burano is it feels to me just like the Alexa Mini. It's best in its native form. If it's just a battery, a lens, and the camera, it's wonderful. It's lightweight. You can get it in small confined spaces to get those creative angles. But as soon as you start building it out with all the accessories, it kind of comes this unwieldy monster. And like the FX9 form factor is friendlier for hanging accessories and having a eye loop style viewfinder. So with all of that said, I think I want to adapt myself to cater to this camera in its native form of just being a cube. And you can't really, it feels good on my shoulder. However, note the viewfinder, like the rail that the viewfinder is mounted on has to angle downward when the camera runs on my shoulder. With a 24mm prime lens, with all that extra stack height on the shoulder pad, when it's on my shoulder, I have to cant the viewfinder down lower, which on my 24mm, the viewfinder is in frame now. Whereas if I remove those Arri accessories and just put the camera on my shoulder, now the viewfinder is articulated in a higher position and it's not in frame with a 24mm lens. This angle best shows how much taller the camera is, and I had to run like 2 to 3 additional clicks of counterbalance to offset all of that vertical height. And with the camera being so high and so far from the fluid head, it's much more prone to shakes and wobbles. And yeah, the DV12 was a little too small of a head for this shoot. It counterbalanced okay. I think it's just a little too lightweight. I have an 18 and a 20 back at the house. I regret not bringing the 18 out. And of course, all of this obsession over configuration and gear is like completely transparent to the clients. They're happy we're getting the shots. It wasn't slowing us down. Really enjoying the touchscreen. I haven't done any of this on the FX9, but I use it quite often on my FX3. Record specs on this project were 2997 UHD record, and I opted for the AVC-L codec because I'm uploading footage to the editor. We shot 30 gigs, and I mapped user button 2 to change the sensor crop, and in that record space, I could jump between Super 35 and the full frame crop. I think it's like 5.8K or 6K crop. And I would do that just based on, if I needed to bump in a little bit on my frame, I would switch to Super 35 versus doing a lens change. Look and lighting, I'm matching a previous project. This is an updated version, and that one was all available light. It didn't look like they had any supplemental lighting. So I used 2 LED panels on standby just to fill in. I filled in Talon's face and product for every shot. But that meant I wanted to shoot at a small aperture, 2.0, 1.8 range. So I went to the high ISO mode, 3200, and enabled the variable ND and used the vari ND to change exposure for each location as opposed to spending a bunch of time changing the lighting in the room. This wraps my 4th project with the Burano, all small one-day shoots, real world. So far, I have not seen any shutter skew issues or IR issues. I mean, I know how to create both of those, But just out in the real world so far with practical shooting, neither of which has become a problem. Am I trying to justify my purchase? I don't know, maybe. The reason I invested in this camera was I was looking for an updated replacement to my Mira. The Alexa 35 is 4 times the price and out of reach for my client base at present. For dock and small commercial shooting, IBIS with Vari ND is a huge benefit for me. I don't need the 8K, maybe someday. All right, 20 minutes talking about shoulder pads. I'm going to wrap this up here. We'll get into some of the other brands I'm looking at based on feedback from the community. I'll break all of that down next week. Thanks for watching.